Right.
We're gonna call this meeting to order. We'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Everybody would stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag.
To the republic which stands one nation under God. Hey, Zach Brown, Keller, present. Michael Mappin,
Present.
Nancy Ross, present. Jay Russell,
Present.
Matt Sutton,
Present.
and Michael Elliott is not with us, but we have a quorum.
We're gonna open it up to public forum. Would anybody like to speak? Just here, listen. Hearing none, we close the public forum. Has everybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes from last week?
Yes.
Would anybody like to make a motion to or amend or approve the meeting minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from April 16th, 2024.
All in favor?
A second.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll second.
You need a second.
I'll second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
New business.
Okay, so new business ordinance 2024-08, public hearing and ordinance of the town of Oakland, Florida. Adopting a First Amendment, to the development agreement for the Grove Plan Development as records in the public records of Orange County, Florida, a document number 2022-005-4637 to implement design guidelines and architectural standards for the Grove project. Including real property owned by New Horizons Investments LLC is more particularly described herein, making findings and providing for conflict, severability, and for an effective.
Mr. Chairman and board, thank you. I'm Brad Cornelius with Wade Trim, serving the contracted town planner this evening. And as Elise just stated, the item you have before you this evening is ordinance 2024-08. And this would be an amendment to the Grove, the first amendment to the Grove Development Agreement to adopt architectural design standards for the Grove, which is the same thing that we went through, the board reviewed for Briley Farms. This is the same kind of thing, and actually it's very same standard as well, pretty much. So next, please. So just a reminder to everyone, the Grove was approved by the town commission back in January 2022. For ordinance 22-26, there is an existing development agreement for the project. This is a 44 single family home subdivision, and it's within your traditional neighborhood district. Next, please. So what the request is they're looking to adopt specific design standards for the development of the homes within this project. So in order to do that, it does require an amendment to their development agreement. And it's also important to understand and know that nothing else in the development agreement is changing. All the other conditions, requirements, everything that's already in place under the original development agreement do not change. The only thing that is changing is under the development saying these are the development standards that would apply to the homes being built within the community, but everything else remains the same. Nothing else will change within the development agreement. So that's what's before you this evening. Next, please. So again, this is very similar to what you saw last month. It's the same structure. What they're doing in the Grove, they're identifying the different lot types within the development. Again, there's 4 lot types. And these lot types are based on their location, the characteristics of their lot, of where they are. And with that, each of them have their own design standards. Next, please. And I won't go through them, but it's in your application and the information that you have. There are the 4 lot types A, B, C, and D. And again, what they do is they provide the specific setbacks for each of the different lot types and those kinds of standards. As well as the arrangement of the buildings and the outbuildings. One thing I do want to let you all know at this point is with Briley Farm, when it went to the town commission, they did make some changes to what you saw. What's before you under here, those changes that happened in Briley Farm are already incorporated into what's before you today. One of those changes that happened at Briley Farm that's here, but it is already changed here, is on the outbuildings. In Briley Farm, originally it was the outbuildings would have a 5-foot side setback. The town commission changed that to 7.5, with the exception of the 8 lots with the old Daniels Cove, those stayed at 5. What you have before you in the Grove, it's 7.5 feet, as was approved under Briley Farm. The other thing related to the outbuildings is accessory dwelling units. There was quite a bit of discussion about that. And the change that happened in Briley Farm, which is also incorporated here, is that for accessory dwelling units, they would not come back to the town for approval. However, it now has conditions and limitations on it. These accessory dwelling units cannot have any kind of permanent cooking facilities within them. And it's stated specifically that they're only for the use of the owners, their guests, or family members. They're not permanent dwelling units. So we have those restrictions are now part of the design standards. Those are in Briley Farm, and they're also already incorporated within what you have before you this evening for your review. So that's kind of the overview of that. As I did before, I'm not going to go in real detail. Mr. Scally is here. He can give you the details on it. In terms of the architecture, what they're doing, they don't have as many different. They just have 2. They're looking at the Florida vernacular as well as the French farmhouse. Those are the 2 general architectural standards. Within the design guideline booklet that you have, it has all the details about, you know, how the things get, the colors, the way things are put together. Again, these styles are same that we have in Briley Farms, are actually less here. There's 2 here. That one ended up with 4. But they are with that same that was approved with Briley Farm. And that's what's being proposed with this project as well. The next part with this one has a little bit of a different request. So the entrance sign to the subdivision. This was part of the request. So you see there on that slide, and it's in their booklet, the Grove, the larger sign on the bottom, that would be their subdivision entrance sign. That would be on Catherine Ross Road. It would not be on the entry on Oakland Avenue. What would go on Oakland Avenue would be the columns, similar to what you have on Oakland Park there on Oakland Avenue. It would just be those columns with the small symbol on it. The larger sign would be on the Catherine Ross Road entrance. Why this is part of this request is your land development code limits the size of a residential subdivision entry sign to no more than 32 square feet. The challenge that we had looking at that, your code doesn't give direction on how you measure that size. It just says that's what it is. So when we have a sign like this, there's a couple different ways we can measure it. So the first way we looked at it was we took the area of the word Grove on top, the length of the letters plus the height, and then the whole sign base underneath it. And if you do that, that comes out to 44.8 square feet, which exceeds the 32 square feet. The other way we looked at it, just to get a comparison, is just taking again the area of the Grove lettering above and just the area of the lettering that's on the base, but not include the entire base, but just the lettering on the base. And if you do it that way, it's about 24.9 square feet. So it's not a whole lot. And then the sign on the little logo on the column is about three square feet. The Grove lettering is only about just under 2 feet high, about 1 foot 10 inches high. And the length of the base is 10 feet 6 inches. One of the things I did is I went out there and I looked at the existing sign for Longleaf that's on East Oakland Avenue, and it's very similar to the size of this. The existing Longleaf sign, that sign base is 10 feet. This is 10 feet 6 inches, so very similar. And the top lettering on that long leaf sign is 2 feet high. So very similar to this. So this is very similar in size to what you already have there at Longleaf, out there on East Oakland Avenue. So we did have him put this in this request because it was a little bit uncertain on how we would measure it. So we wanted to be sure that the town and the town commission, if they find this appropriate, they would approve it. So there'd be no question when they'd come through for permitting. So that's the one difference that we have with this request. Next, please. So after you all make your decision this evening, it'll go to the town commission and they'll have 2 hearings on this on June 11th and June 25th. Next, please. This was reviewed by the town's appearance review board at the May 7th meeting. And they did review it and they did unanimously recommend approval of these design standards as they were submitted and as you have before you this evening. So they had no objections. And again, we serving as your staff, we also recommend approval of what they've submitted. So that's my short presentation. Be happy to answer any questions you have of me. Then Scalia is here and give you more specific information.
Just curious, where did At the Harvest District come from? I've never seen that before.
The city called the village, so we kind of did a study. We hired a company and they came up with that
It
scenario.
really came out of nowhere.
Was,
It doesn't
it's,
mean anything.
it's from the grove, to the harvest, so it goes together in the lingo.
Okay.
So that's what the study was all about. We did a study and they came up with that.
I thought, that harvest district thing is, I feel like it's
One piece, that's the piece in West Colonia.
gonna be the harvest.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, exactly. It's been changed to the harvest.
Okay, but we don't have any other district names in town, right? So it's just gonna be the Grove and those apartments that are gonna be that.
The grove is separate. So the piece on West Colonia is adjacent to the grove, which
Right, it's gonna be the harvest. So those, the apartments in the Grove, that areas which are calling the harvest district.
That's correct.
Okay.
So it's not the grove, it's the harvest, it's the piece on West Colonia.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
And this, the larger sign gonna be on Catherine Ross Road and the columns, will they be similar to like the Oakland Park columns? So.
It'll be 42 inches high by 28 inches wide.
That's about the size that's out there now.
So it'll kind of have some consistency as you go down Oakland Avenue between.
It'll be 2 on each entrance, and with a cap on it.
Okay,
So 2 on Catherine Ross and 2 by Steve's house.
There's,
Right.
we have one on by Steve's house, and then one that is further down between the.
Oh, okay, the 4 houses.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay, gotcha.
If you go to that first slide.
Is it lit?
Well, we had chosen not to.
And your town code does have sign lighting restrictions, limitations, to make sure if it is lit, that it's up lighting, it's only onto the sign, doesn't have light spill, and we would apply dark sky standards to it. Well,
But you're not lighting it.
At this moment, we're going back and forth.
Oh,
We're
okay.
gonna do a gas lantern. The idea,
That gets expensive.
they're not fit inside.
Yeah.
So we may, put a light on it, we may not, so it's still investigating.
Okay.
and just for information about dark sky, I will let you know, I did work with Franco and his team about 2 weeks ago, and they've already selected dark sky street lighting within the Grove. Duke Energy has a very nice line of pre-certified dark sky lighting. So all the interior lighting to that subdivision will be dark sky light.
Great.
All interior will be what? Dark sky lighting, meaning be fully shielded.
is that simple? There is a long, dark sky lighting.
I haven't looked at those lights. I don't.
I don't
It's just the type of lantern light.
I'm just curious if it's comparable, if it's something to compare to, but.
They can put all of that we currently have into the dark sky.
Yeah, you want to shit on, because otherwise it'll be shining somebody's house.
Yeah.
Trust me, I have one in my.
It's gonna be uncomfortable.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Thank you.
I know we're talking about the sign, but does anybody have any concerns about the lots? So they won't be able to put any kind of like like in-law quarter back there or mother-in-law suite back in those structures?
They would be like that, but it wouldn't have a permanent cooking facility as part of it.
Of a bath, not a kitchen,
No full kitchens.
So full kitchen, it could be like a microwave or, but
but no sinks and no.
But it could have a sink, and actually in this one, it doesn't allow a full-size refrigerator either. And that was something actually the applicant came forward with. It was a discussion that happened at the town commission. And it was a concern that was raised, and then the applicant in Bradley Farm, and they picked up the same language. This is what they proposed back to the town.
I know at the commission meeting, I think the concern was it becoming a rental unit.
That's what people were concerned about.
That it not be a rental unit.
That can be covered.
Yeah, we dealt with that.
Be covered in your HOA documents, so.
And one of the things that happens.
Odd.
Yeah. Well, what actually happens with this and Bradley Farm, these are actually going to be their HOA covenant. This will be part of their HOA deed restrictions, covenants and restrictions. So we're basically adopting in the town's agreement, the same restrictions that they're gonna have privately enforcing as well. So that's why, in terms of us looking at it, we're comfortable with that restriction because they're voluntarily doing it as part of their project. And they're adopting the same thing that we would be adopting.
One more thing I wanted to ask, remember the couple that came in here with the 10,500 square foot?
Mhm.
Okay. Did that property, that acre get bought and absorbed into the road?
No, it's
No, it's still in there. Okay. Just curious.
Anybody have any other questions? Yes. Somebody like to make a motion
Need to open it up.
of the public?
Steve, do you have any, did you want to come to the podium and ask any question?
Interesting.
You can close this up.
Make a motion to approve ordinance 2024 First Amendment to the Grove Development Agreement, proposed design guidelines and architectural standards.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I'd like to nominate, recommendation for the board.
Can I do it? I'll nominate.
Do it.
I do that? Yeah, all right.
Nominated yourself.
I'll nominate myself.
I'll second it.
Very good.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Well, Michael,
All right. Everybody's looking at me, so I guess. We'll nominate. You're talking.
I just wanted to cover one more thing. So August 6th, just kind of save the date, at 6 o'clock, we're gonna do a joint ARB, P and Z and Town Commission work session, just an hour on ethics, sunshine law, all that stuff, just as a refresher, especially for our new people. We have a lot of new board members, which is great. So we'll have Wade come in with Stephanie and just do an hour training on all that. It's a good time to ask questions.
Mhm.
If you have questions about who can talk to who and when and all that, it's a good time to get those answers. So I'll do that at the ARB meeting. We'll just do the ARB meeting after.
August 6th at 6 p.m.
August 6th. Send you guys a calendar invite. I didn't want to send it today because then it gets confusing as to what's happening. So I wanted to mention it first and then I'll send you guys out a calendar invite for that.
I do have one question. So this is completely unrelated, but do we currently have an ordinance that is able to work on at their house, work on some?
I think our noise ordinance
Just got to be at 80, isn't it?
talks about construction work. I don't know if it's refers to private property or if it's more the bigger developments. She doesn't have internet.
Yeah,
I
can't look it up. I was about to try.
Yeah, because I cited for working on a Sunday, like at a whole crew of people there. They were blocking up a mother-in-law suite. I'd never heard of that, so. When I built Winter's Landing, we built every day of the week that we could, so.
Yeah, the noise ordinance came into place after that.
Okay.
I want to say, I mean, it's been within the last 5 years, so
I can't remember. I'll try and look it up before we leave here real quick.
yeah, we're having internet.
Good question.
Oh, that's a good question. No, I do think there's something in place for Sundays.
Yeah,
But people can get exceptions for those, but I think the town manager has to sign off.
Who's available on a Sunday to fight up? Does somebody go, I mean, did they?
there was a complaint. Oakland PD came out, filled out the incident report and referred it to code enforcement, so. For use of our taxpayer dollars.
Yeah. Mr. Sharp, good to just, so you're aware, last week, the town commission did approve the 4th Street Village, the comp plan amendment and PUD. They did have a couple amendments. One was for the buildings that would be up towards 50, commercial, that they be pushed closer to 50 to move the parking behind it.
What we talked about, yeah.
Right, so they had that condition. They also had a condition where they're gonna have put enhanced landscaping along State Road 50 and along 4th Street.
Good.
Also to put in construction screening during construction. And is there another one? Those are the.
I think there was, but I couldn't tell.
And prohibition of smoke shops.
Ah, yes.
Oh, I didn't hear that one. Good.
Yes.
So those are the changes that the town commission adopted, and the applicant was supportive of all those changes. So that. And also the Briley Farms design standards are also approved. With some conditions, one related to peacocks. Very interesting. I wasn't at the meeting.
What was it?
There's they're gonna
And
provide.
name came into it. They brought your name into it.
Peacock protection plan.
Pain. I love them, but they're a pain.
It wasn't Maureen, it was, I don't remember the ladies.
Until they get all over your car and just make a mess.
Wanting to know what was going to be done to protect them during the Briley Farms.
Right,
Come and get them.
right. So those were approved and
Millions.
those are all the updates. Those are all the updates that we have right now.
On the village, the drawing before this last one had those 3 or 4 little spaces down near the turnpike, and they were marked with what they were. I noticed this time they didn't have any marking on it, but those are still going to be like maybe a clubhouse, an event space and all that.
Yeah, the amenities in that back
Yeah,
corner.
yeah,
of it, yes,
yeah, yeah,
those are
okay.
still.
Okay,
It was just the front part was the part that got altered.
right.
Do they have anybody interested on going in there yet? Like, do they know what they're?
Mr. Healy hasn't said anything to me about it yet.
I know Mrs. B is, if somebody will cut her a deal, is anxious to come back this way. She's not doing very well in Vermont.
No.
The popcorn?
She would love to come to Oakland. I've talked to them twice already. So that'd be a good jump start. Or either the 4th Street property or the Grove, the village. What is it called? The Harvest.
The harvest, now that was the first I heard that today.
Yeah, me too. I
The Harvest.
didn't know that either.
And where do they come up with these names? We have like 15 groves around here.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
not
the
even-
new Claremont are the Grove too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do we think it's something else other than like, oh,
Well, to me, addresses would be
We
appropriate.
didn't change that originally. It was something to preserve. And we made them change it, and that's when they went to the Grove. Because it was too close to nature preserve, like there was a.
I saw the sign that said the Grove at the Harvest District and I was like, is there something that like, where's the Harvest District? Is that something new? And
That's odd.
I know originally Oakland had
Made it up, basically.
the only train station before even Orlando did. And so actually the reason this isn't a big, huge metropolitan area is because they made the decision to move the train station into downtown Orlando. So Oakland would have been downtown Orlando had the train station not moved. So Winter's Landing was in Orange Grove when I first pulled up to it, and they were tearing out all,
That.
yeah, it was, well, yeah, so.
Another update, because it just happened yesterday, the Bayview at Johns Lake at the end of Remington Road, the little 20-unit subdivision. They finally got through their final engineering approval and everything, so that'll get issued tomorrow, for them to start site development.
Oh, I'm glad you brought it up. I wondered about that.
Bayview.
Bayview, yes, sir. Yes,
Just
sir.
Bayview?
Bayview John's Way, yeah.
Bayview
one there.
John's.
So they got,
They did enter, they do have an agreement with the HOA. Of the substand's like next door on the wall, that was a big discussion. So we do have an agreement with that HOA about how that'd be taken. So that was good.
And nothing with the Bin Laden property, right? Because I know it's been in the news a lot because they tore down the house.
We received a phone call.
They tore the house down. Yeah, that's what I was saying. That was on the, it's been all over the news and that's.
Yeah.
I was,
keep it, yeah, no.
Yeah, they got everybody all worked up saying sharing old information about apartment complexes and everybody on Facebook was losing their minds.
Well, years ago, that was I'll never forget that meeting.
We got escorted out,
Yeah, like I'm walking
meetings in a row by,
a car and I'm getting threatened.
Oh
I
my,
will never forget that meeting. That was the worst.
Yeah.
Over that property. And that was over, I think it was apartments
yes.
That was the
And-
first time it came through, right? Not the second, yeah.
and then storage unit they wanted to put up front. And then what was
Custom.
like a restaurant on the water or something. People like,
They had a custom home section and then a restaurant that kind of, I mean, it was like a small, like, I think it was like 12 lots that were kind of sprinkled along the lake.
yep,
And
That was the last one that got
the last one.
That's it.
it's good size.
Too big.
Yeah, it's.
I think it's, I mean, it's
Acres.
hard to judge because it kind of goes down.
It does.
I've been on the jet ski going over there. It kind of breaks my heart that the house got, now the house was beautiful
That old house,
early on, you know,
barely.
8 years ago, it was beautiful.
It was very contentious. That was the make or break moment for a lot of the board.
Might have been in the meeting, but I think it was on the porch here because we couldn't get in. There were so many people.
Yeah,
Do you remember if Mr. English that bought it and then sold it, did he lose money on that deal? Do you know?
I'm sure it did.
Oh, yeah, I think you,
Yeah, it's 17.99 acres.
yeah, I thought it was so.
It's deceiving. It's deceiving because
It's
with
beautiful.
the wall and everything.
Well, I think we're done with official business. So.
awesome. Having the like, in and out.
Good job, sir.
Sometime I'll try. Yeah. Districts are doing it too.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
good.